orders, can we?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. I haven't seen any information that allows that.
Not yet.
Uh,
I just heard from Brian that we're looking at $52 a case.
Got
and
it.
we
What were
haven't.
we last year? Do you remember, Mark?
We were at 49.
Well, there's nothing magic about going over $50, in my opinion.
No.
And and I and then price has never been an issue, particularly when you provide delivery.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Well, I usually do have to buy them myself and get repaid. My, my my people are too lazy to go on the internet.
Well, I'm going to find that out this year because I've always done it 100% by checks. So I'm really chewing my knuckles to have because I've got another trip yet planned,
Uh-huh.
and I don't have enough time to for the 300 people I reach out to. So anyways, it'll be what it'll be.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, again, thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good Tuesday so far. There's a lot of cool things happening. A lot of tech news, a lot of juicy topics. The first thing I was reading about was an AI sex robot company in China who is releasing a new generation of basically chat GPT capable sex robots. And I was reading an article about that in the PC magazine. And you might think, oh, we all laugh. It is kind of funny to talk about sex robots. But I think it's one of those things that's a way bigger deal than any of us really realize. And so anyways, I was reading about this Chinese company who's like the Apple of AI sex robots. And they were talking about how the future version of their sex robot dolls, which they already make now. So they already make sex robot dolls. They weigh 88 pounds. They're trying to get it down to 66 pounds. And they say that future versions of the dolls will be able to perform housework and chores, in addition to being for pleasure. And
Oh, I love the chores.
and
So,
I would
so
talk to you and listen to you. And I think I mean, women better watch out. I'm not even joking. Like that's
So, so
beast.
the takeaway is even the sex robots are going on a diet. Is that the takeaway, Matt?
Yep, yep.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, so in a few years,
Whew.
Starpuri is the name of the company. Starpuri's roadmap includes more practical functionality as well. In a few years, it plans to offer some that can perform basic household chores, as well as its first smart service robot that can perform more complex services for people with disabilities and the elderly. And so I'm reading this article and I'm like, wow, this is just a weird, we might be really, really close to your friends having like a sex robot that also can wash the dishes. And in this article, then I see a little quote that was talking about Elon Musk, and I hadn't seen this quote from Elon Musk, so I'll read it to you. And that's what I put in the email. It said Tesla is working on a related product dubbed Tesla Bots, which we actually have looked at in a previous week. This week, CEO Elon Musk affirmed his commitment to developing them in the company's 2024 annual shareholder meeting. And this is from CNBC. He said that the robots will be able to cook, clean, teach children, and perform factory work, among other tasks. Earlier this year, I mean, geez, teach children. That's the thing that kind of stuck out to me in that sentence. Cook, clean, obviously we're all on board with that. Teach children, that was a little bit weird. This is all weird because I'm reading this and it's in the same article as the sex robot. So it's kind of you can see where my brain is a little bit scrambled. But earlier this year, Elon Musk agreed with a post on X that predicted every middle-class American household would have one of these robots within 7 years.
Every median income household, I think is what I read, Matt.
Yep, yep.
Median and above.
Correct. Correct. So, so I think robots are just one of these things that we're going to be seeing pretty soon. We've actually talked quite a bit about robots. We've watched a lot of different videos here on the show. So yeah, get ready for that. I mean, I would take a robot. We've already had this conversation before, but I thought that quote by Elon, and Elon's known for making pretty outlandish claims, but he's also known for delivering on those outlandish claims. So we'll see. Anyways, I've asked this question before, but are you guys ready to have a robot? Just the house cleaning robot. Don't tell me about the other ones if you want
Yes.
it. Yeah. So anyways, Elon's always, as always, cooking up like 15 different things on the stove. They're all pretty exciting. And it kind of reaffirms my position on him and that he is I mean, I think it's pretty clear. He is like the closest thing we've had to Steve Jobs. He's like the new tech face, the visionary, the evangelist, the inventor, the Da Vinci, whatever you want to call it. He's kind of our modern version of that. So it's always really interesting to see what he's promoting and what he's not promoting and what he's working on. So I almost like a ritual at least once a week, I'll just go to his X account and just kind of read his profile. And that's a really good way to just kind of see what he's so transparent, or he appears to be transparent, and he appears to be speaking very freely on the X platform, which he purchased, which is such a crazy thing to say. But yeah, do you guys have X accounts? Are you guys on X, Twitter?
Yes.
Oh,
No? No one. I would recommend checking out X. It's way different than it has been in the past. When Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, created it. I've been on it since 2009. It's been probably my primary news culture outlet for like pretty much that many years. But it's pretty interesting. It's like everything kind of happens on X. So if you're in the market for a new social media, I do recommend checking out X. Check out Elon's profile.
Matt, go back and explain more what the content on X is that you particularly look for when you're on X.
Sure. Yeah. So the content that I look for on X is just things that I'm interested in. So technology, is a huge one. Sports is a huge one. And the beauty of social media, or X, I think specifically, is you get right to the source. You just follow people directly. I actually think in many ways, X is removing the need for like publishing websites, like news outlets. It almost seems like those websites, like even the major ones, I think, still deliver really quality and important deep dives into content, like the New York Times, for example. But increasingly, I'm kind of, because I have this own feeling in my business where I do have a website, friendlytech.help. It's not really that active. Like I'm not posting blogs on it as much as I would like to. And I always think like, is it even worth posting on a website anymore? That's not a major website. Because the thing nowadays is we're all governed by algorithms, and TikTok, we've talked about in the past, is like a super, super unique algorithm. And the reason it's so popular is because of the discovery aspect of the algorithm. You as a random person can make a TikTok account today, post a video on it, and you have a really solid chance at your TikTok being seen by hundreds, thousands, millions of people, more so than any of the other platforms. Twitter is now becoming kind of the same way. So it's text instead of video. TikTok is video. TikTok is video. X is more text-based. Stu sent me a video of him TikTok that I think his daughter made. He got like a couple thousand views or something like that on TikTok. I've posted things on TikTok before and I've gotten like 20,000 views, which isn't super viral, but it just goes to show you that the algorithms now are really determining what we see, and that's where all the people's eyeballs are. And so even in my own personal work, I now kind of think like websites are a little bit outdated. Like I just go to Twitter for anybody's opinion. Most of the people I follow don't even have websites. Like the influencers aren't really starting blogs. That used to be kind of a thing 10, 15 years ago. Is like the big influencers had blogs. Well, one of Tim Ferriss, I think he was a huge, you guys know Tim Ferriss? Wait, but why?
No.
He was like a huge popular blogger when I was in high school, when I was growing up. And he had this website and it was called waitbutwhy.com. Posts just a lot of interesting blogs about everything. And nowadays, like the websites, going to websites, I almost just feel like that's not really where the attention is. It's not really where the motion is and the momentum. And so that's why I'm on Twitter and that's why I'm on TikTok, is because for better or worse, that's where the energy is. That's where the young people are. And that's where the masses are going. And increasingly when I read news articles, they're just citing posts that are on Twitter. Have you seen that? Like a lot of times you read a post on the Washington,
Yes.
and halfway through the article, it's like, and Elon Musk said this on Twitter, and this person said this on Twitter. And it's almost like secondary to a lot of journalists, I think, are like terminally online people, and they're just on X finding stories that people talk about, and then they make articles out of them. So to me, it's like going straight to the source. That's why I like Twitter.
So Matt, give me your 5 favorite Twitter accounts.
Oh man, what are you interested in? It's kind of or for me personally,
Yeah, but start with technology and then go to sociology or but not politics.
let me see. Let me pull up my feed. I mean, Elon for sure. He's number one. Let me see who else I follow. That's kind of a tough question. I follow so many people. Let me see here. I like Scott Adams. I also like Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. The guy, I guess he's political though. So okay, scratch that. I mean, other than that, I follow a lot of political people. Who else? Tech related. It's funny because you don't really notice. You don't see. I don't think of like people that I follow. I just think of my news feed and what pops up.
So how do we get how do you build a news feed?
You just follow people. I should say you used to have to follow people to get a news feed. And similar to Facebook. So Facebook created the news feed kind of, and it was based on friends, right? You had a friend, and then if you sent that person a request and they accepted your request, then you would see their posts on your Facebook when you logged in. And that's where the news feed was born. Then everybody else created their own news feed, all the other social medias. But, and so it used to be just, on whether you were on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you would only see posts from people that you followed. Up until about 7 years ago, that was it. And then TikTok came around, which I believe is like seven or 8 years old. And TikTok created what's called the For You page. And that completely changed social media as we know it. Because the For You page is basically the algorithm page, where it doesn't matter who you follow. they will just, the algorithm takes the wheel, so to speak, and it's just feeding you stuff, content. And the For You page now is the default or the de facto format of news feeds. So on Twitter, for example, usually I just stay on the For You page and I just let the algorithm kind of serve me up certain things. And it's a combination of my engagement on the site, so things that I like. Nobody even really knows how the algorithms work. But if you've ever been on TikTok, you'll be kind of creeped out if you've never been on it before, because it's like you could tell they really kind of get into your brain. That's how it feels. So I usually go off the For You page, and I don't really focus too much on following. I do engage with social media, which I actually recommend you do nowadays. It used to be like most people's kind of, when I ask if you're on social media, most of you will probably say something like this, like, yeah, I have a Facebook account, but I don't post on it. I just look around. I just see what's going on. Just in there to see my kids. Yeah, I don't do anything. I don't post. I think that we should be posting more and we should be interacting more with social media if you're on it, if you're interested in it. If you want to stay off of it, I'm not talking to you. But if you're on social media, if you're on Twitter, or TikTok, like the posts that you like, because it totally influences the algorithm. It'll send you more stuff. And so anyways, yeah, that's the For You page is kind of the place to be on Twitter. Same with everything now. So the default page on Instagram, when you're scrolling on Instagram, you might notice you don't even really see your friends and family anymore. It's like random videos. Same with YouTube. It's like you're just seeing like popular videos. It's like you're on TV. It's like you're switching channels on a TV station and you're just seeing really bite-sized, like compressed TV shows or TV content. So that's what I do.
Matt, could you tell me one more time how to get to X?
X.com.
Okay.
Or download the
That's
X.
pretty easy.
Yeah. Download the X app on the App Store.
Gotcha.
And we'll actually talk a little bit more about that algorithm. That's a good question, Chuck, because I have later we will show. So it's obviously a huge deal, right? That what I just told you, the fact that these algorithms are just constantly serving us up things, and it's really not so much about seeing friends and family anymore as discovering different stories, basically, that the algorithm chooses for you. It's brainwashing, really, is what it is. And that's why so many people are freaked out about TikTok and about China having control of TikTok, right? Because if they control the algorithm, they've done studies, they literally know that your algorithm assigns your opinions to you. In the same way that probably the newspapers and media that you read assign your opinions to you, algorithms are probably even better at that. And there's ample evidence to support that. If you show people repeatedly certain viewpoints in an algorithm, they will adopt those viewpoints because usually the algorithm serves very persuasive videos, and our brains are very hardwired to respond to persuasive topics and ideas, even if they're not real. And so we're already in a very weird time for consuming media, with TikTok being, I guess, the best example. And if you haven't ever looked at TikTok, I do recommend looking at TikTok just to kind of see what the youth are looking at. Because that's where every single person I know that's under the age of 25 uses TikTok as their primary social media. And it's totally different than who here is on, I asked about X. Do any of you have a TikTok? Or have any of you scrolled on TikTok ever? No. Again, if you're curious just to kind of where the world is heading and where young people are finding their opinions and ideas, just scroll on TikTok. It might be banned soon, so you might not have much time to do that. I don't think it's going to be banned though. And I have noticed, just as an aside, like this is how much young people are affected by these algorithms. I'm at my gym playing basketball, and I'll hear people in conversation bring up a story like about a basketball player, about a Steph Curry, for example. And it's literally, I know the video that they're referencing on that I've seen on TikTok, because it's usually like some weird story. It's like, think of like a news story compressed into like a 60-second video where it's like, Steph Curry always ties his shoes, this certain way for every game. And Nikola Jokic puts his wedding ring on the laces, for every game. And it's like everybody is watching the same stories, essentially. And so even though you get this impression that when you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, that you're seeing all of these videos, I mean, you are seeing all of them. It feels like they're custom to you. But I've seen so many times, like almost on a daily basis, every time I talk to somebody else who's around my age, they all see the same videos. And I hear the videos through the opinions that they're speaking. And it's like, it's pretty, I don't know how to even describe it. But did you guys, because nobody ever says, I saw this video. They always say, and it's usually like when we enter a specific topic, right? So if we're talking about basketball, then they'll bring up this Steph Curry story that I know I saw a video on TikTok on, and I know that they're like the points that they're saying directly line up with the video that I saw. But they don't say that they saw it on TikTok. They're bringing it up like they read it somewhere, or something. And that happens to me every time I'm in a social situation, to the point where it's like we're really living in a simulation. Nobody has any original thoughts. It's kind of yeah, it's I don't know, but I also wonder, is that kind of what's always been happening? Am I just kind of reset, is this what everybody who read the New York Times kind of reads the same stories, right? People who read the Wall Street Journal kind of read the same stories. But do you guys notice that with other forms of media? Like, does everybody talk about the same stuff? Has it always just been whatever the headlines are, that's what people talk about for the most part? That
I
kind
think you
of
hit it with the headlines.
It comes to your eyes faster. It's microwave. Instead of cooking popcorn on the stove top like I used to, it's microwave popcorn because you can't wait that long. And so, the whole world is being microwave.
yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Micro. And that's what's actually, we're way off on a tangent now, but it's all right. And that's what to me is so shocking, that podcasts somehow emerged from all of this. We went from legacy media, where it's like huge media corporations, news, where everybody would watch the news and all the news stories would be compressed and compressed and compressed. And it kind of makes sense that something like TikTok would emerge, which is like really short form micro videos. But in the midst of all that, this whole other subcategory of media emerged to the forefront, which is like podcasts popularized by Joe Rogan, that are super long. It's like the opposite of a TikTok. It's like 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4 or 5 hour conversations with people.
Yeah.
So I think that's a kind of a cool balance. I
I
don't know.
love podcasts.
Yeah. You wouldn't think that, like, I feel like that would have been hard to predict. If you were in the year 2000, you probably would think like, we're just getting down to compression. All of this information is getting into shorter videos. And then all of a sudden podcasts kind of open up the opposite. And now to the point where like long form YouTube videos are like incredible. They're like movies. Like you can go on YouTube and watch documentaries that are made by a guy like me just sitting at his desk about like any topic for like 2.5 hours. And they're amazing. Anyways.
What I like about this conversation, and it may not be everybody likes it, but it's forcing me to go do some things after the call, such as open an X account, open a TikTok account, I did not let them, because I just did a couple of them, did not let them send me notifications. I'll hold that for a while. But I figure that it just takes me to a world that I haven't been in, Matt, and I would feel better if I knew more about it instead of speaking with my current perceptions that are totally based without any real input other than the hearsay conversations that come to me. And those are old farts conversations with all the limitations that involves.
Yeah. And if you do go try X or try TikTok, consider this as an exercise to try. Pretend that you're watching yourself watching the feed. So the feed or the TikTok feed, and analyze yourself as you're watching this. Like, it's almost like a meditative exercise. Like, what things are you seeing, and then what emotions are those bringing up, and then try to analyze kind of what opinions are being shown to you, and which direction are you being pulled or pushed in. That's what I did when I first downloaded TikTok, because everybody was saying it's like Chinese propaganda that is going to brainwash all of us. And it's a very interesting exercise to go through if you want.
So, John Klug, you're new to the call. Do you have an account, or do you go into X? And similar question for TikTok, yes or no?
No, but like you, I'm now inspired to do so.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Well, anyways, I don't know where that was a good little tangent. I want to get into two other things before we have 30 minutes left. I want to talk about Apple's recent conference, their big one every summer. They do WWDC. I don't know what that stands for. I probably should have figured that out. WWDC, worldwide. I don't know, but that's their developers conference. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Mark. And they announce all the cool stuff that they're doing. So for a long time, people have been basically since ChatGPT came out, eyes have been on Apple. Apple is the leader in the tech world. They have the strongest brand, and everybody wants to know, what's Apple going to do with their AI? They have been kind of silent, surprisingly silent. And so they released a bunch of information about what they plan to do with Apple Intelligence, AI, Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence, Apple Intelligence. And they announced a bunch of cool things. I mean, or I'm going to say they announced a bunch of things, and I'm going to give you my thoughts, and then we'll kind of look a little deeper at each of the things. They announced some writing tools. So basically, built into all of your emailing, you can highlight text and tell Apple's intelligence to summarize it, or to make this bullet points, or to make this more persuasive, and it will completely rewrite the text. They did a lot of image generation. So you can now generate and create your own emojis. They call them Genmojis, which I don't know who that is really for, but wasn't that exciting to me. And they also have something called Image Playground, which allows a selection of styles. So basically, if you have an Apple Pencil and an iPad and you draw, a lot of people draw on their iPads, you can use the AI generation to create like real images out of sketches that you've drawn. They announced enhanced Siri capabilities. This was probably the thing that I was anticipating the most, because for a long time, I feel like Siri was one of those things where when it was announced, I don't know when it was announced, so long ago now, probably like 2008, 2007. When Siri was announced, that was kind of like the precursor to AI. We kind of like saw a little glimpse into the future that, oh, wow, you can actually talk to these phones and they'll understand you. pretty much since that time until now, Siri's relatively useless. Like you can do it to make calls, small things, but it's not good for complex. You can't tell Siri like, hey, add this person to my contacts and schedule a meeting with them on Tuesday. That would be nice, right? Like a real assistant. Like that would be a cool version of it. Unfortunately, it sounds like you can't do that yet, even with their enhanced Siri capabilities. But they did make a lot of improvements to the natural language processing of Siri. So you can now make mistakes. Like when you're talking to Siri, you can say, "Hey Siri, what's the example they used was, what's the example? What's the weather like tomorrow at Muir Beach? Oh, I mean Muir Woods." And it will understand and listen. And oh, my phone just went off as I said that.
So I have a thought for everybody. I did some research. It looks like if you really want to get into Apple Intelligence, you have to have an iPhone 15. And I think that's a huge engine for iPhone sales because most of us who are iPhone aren't going to change because of it. We're just going to get it a year earlier or 2 years earlier. And I would expect you're going to pop. Apple's stock price has been pretty strong as of late. So they're back. They had some declines, but they're still top three net or corporate valuation and seem to be on an uptick as opposed to a downtick. And I would think this Apple sales, so that's going to take 6 to 9 months before it has full impact. But I think it'll be pretty evident.
Yeah, I actually am not. So my take was, it's so interesting. The branding, the slogan they use for Apple's intelligence AI is quote AI for the rest of us. AI for the rest of us. How does that phrase land to you? AI for the rest of us.
Well, I think, again, I tend to be an optimist. I tend to think that resonates with me who feels I'm already out of my league as far as to what's going on and relative to AI. So AI for the rest of us seemed to imply it's a little more common denominator as opposed to absolute cutting edge. And it seems more friendly to me, but that's just one opinion.
Yeah, AI for the rest of us. I think it's pretty genius. I think it's a perfect branding for a market that they have long or not overlooked, but not focused on, which is the less tech savvy. My thoughts, I watched the whole conference. It's like an hour long. You can watch it on YouTube if you want. I have a couple clips we can look at. I realize my clips, every time I play the clip and I'm recording the video, because I record this to YouTube, and I record it to YouTube because it's a free hosting. These videos are very large in size. So if I were to store them all on my computer, I would have to pay to get extra storage. But every time I record it on YouTube and then I play a YouTube video, it says there's like a copyright infringement or something. So I can't so it like gets taken down immediately, which is really annoying because I'm on YouTube. I'm showing other stuff on YouTube. I don't know how that really works, but doesn't that seem weird?
Because TikTok can't get it on their algorithm.
Yeah. And I see people do this all the time. Like streamers will always go to YouTube and watch YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's a public video, and I'm on their platform showing their own, I don't know. But maybe they think I'm trying to claim that it's mine or something. But
There's also a legal issue where if you're protecting an asset and you don't take proactive steps, you lose some of the protection you had. And so it could be this is just their lawyer saying, send this out, don't pursue it. But the reality is, put him on notification, and then we can say, hey, we were proactive, even though they have no intention of pursuing it.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, so my takeaway on the Apple Intelligence release is it felt like a flop to me for the people who are tech savvy. For the people who are like into AI, I've been using AI a lot since it came out. Been over almost 2 years now. It's literally Chat GPT enabled. Like they did a deal with Chat GPT, and they didn't make their own AI. They basically are just integrating Chat GPT into the Apple ecosystem, which is also a very interesting, probably something that you wouldn't have been able to predict, because OpenAI is basically owned by Microsoft. And Microsoft and Apple historically have beefed. I was just watching, my YouTube algorithm served me up the old Apple versus PC commercials. Do you guys remember that? It was like, I'm a Mac, or it was like, I'm a Mac, and then I'm a PC, and it was those two actors. Do you guys remember that? Anybody see
Yeah,
it?
No.
it didn't last very long.
But yeah, so I mean, they're literally just using Chat GPT. So to me, they're showing all of these things, and I'll play a little clip to give you an idea of what they're doing. But none of it's really new. Like, so anyways, I think it is a huge deal for the people who are not super tech savvy. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way at all. The features are nothing new. Like I would expect Apple to have they did like generative emojis, but I don't know. To me, that doesn't really do much for me. The most useful things are the text manipulation, being able to write an email and say, hey, summarize this, make this into bullet points. And that's been available for a while. I have Grammarly. If you use Grammarly, like all of this stuff is not very new at all. But I do think it's huge for the people who are less tech savvy, because that's the beauty of, I mean, I think that's also what Apple's always done really well, is they've simplified the tech, right? The super tech savvy people don't like Apple because they they astroturf it. That's what they would say. Like they don't give you as much freedom to do whatever you want. But the trade-off is they make it really easy for people that maybe wouldn't be super complex, needing to use it in a super complex way. So I think that's what they've done with AI. It's going to be really cool to, for example, integrate Siri into Siri is something that most everybody has already used. Chat GPT is still not something that everybody's used. But combining, basically what they've done is just use Siri to add a link to Chat GPT. I think that's going to make a lot more people use it that have not used it before, which I think will deliver a lot of value and be really interesting. So,
Matt, you haven't mentioned that there was an announcement either yesterday or today by Apple that said we are not going to use Meta as we had planned. We don't like the privacy issues that don't seem to be resolved, and therefore Meta will not be part of our. And it didn't say Apple Intelligence, but I felt it was Apple Intelligence. If that strikes me as not oh my God, this hot news. I think it's part of a scheduled rollout of saying we're going to be, and it appeals to the masses, just like um, AI for the rest of us. I think saying we're highly concerned about the Meta privacy, so to see that our clients are protected from a privacy issue has nothing to do with Meta, but they're basically saying we're more privacy conscious than is the other big AI players. And I think that's just a planned strategy of where they're positioning it, and it fits with the lower common denominator, broader audience of quote for the rest of us.
I'm not following. I'm not following. Can you repeat? Was that a story that you heard from Meta?
Yes, it was that no, if John may have seen, I thought I saw it in the Journal this morning, and it was that AI was, or Apple was not going to use Meta in their whatever. Obviously, I was scanning headlines as opposed to capturing the details. The fact that nobody in the audience is helping me indicates we ought to go on, because I'm not certain I've got enough facts to really have an important point. But what my point was, Matt, they were emphasizing privacy at the expense of saying bad boy Meta, which a lot of people feel. That so I think they're solidifying a more broad gauge client base which accounts for 80% of their sales, not the 20% high tech sales. And it's based on trying to have a safe, usable tool by the rest of us. And so I think that's the giant bite of the market. So, anyways, I view it as a marketing strategy from day one, not something they just learned about Meta. It isn't anything they just learned about Meta. This is marketing sizzle without a lot of substance.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree. I know they were looking at when Apple was shopping around for the AI that they wanted to integrate into their products. It was very clear like months ago that they weren't going to create their own. And they were shopping around to the three major ones, ChatGPT, which is basically owned by Microsoft, Google Gemini, owned by Google, Alphabet, and then Meta, which has the Llama, which is the other main one. And it was probably pretty obvious they weren't going to go with Facebook or Meta, because they have competing. Their main product right now, the Vision OS, is directly in competition with Meta's main product, which is the Meta headset, the Meta View.
Right.
So yeah, anything that you hear about that is probably marketing. Elon Musk made some comments, very disparaging comments about Apple, which you may have heard right after the release of this or the announcement. And he was saying, threatening to ban, he had serious concerns about the partnership between Apple and OpenAI, which is backed by Microsoft, for security reasons. And so he was saying that I have a tweet from him actually. It says, quote, this is from Elon Musk. Quote, Apple has no clue what is actually going on once they hand your data over to OpenAI, which again, they'll be doing because they're using OpenAI's ChatGPT to make this Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence is really just ChatGPT. That's basically the takeaway. And he said, as part of, Apple has no clue what's actually going on once they hand your data over to OpenAI. They're selling you down the river. If Apple integrates OpenAI at the operating system level, then Apple devices will be banned at all of my companies, Musk wrote on X. This is an unacceptable security violation. So Musk feels pretty strongly that this is a terrible, terrible thing for security and privacy. I don't really know enough about how the data is handled for it to be to make a comment one way or the other. Elon could be totally right, or he could be doing what you're saying, Chuck, which is just like kind of doing the marketing speak to direct attention towards his company. And this is another domino on my prediction that I think Tesla is super primed, or Elon Musk is super primed to start making a phone or some type of hardware at some point. I don't know, just feels like a natural, feels like why wouldn't he do that? I think the why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't Elon make a phone is because I think we might be moving past phones. Like I think we at some point, like at this point, the resources required to create that product might not be worth it if you're that type of forward-thinking, visionary future guy. But maybe we'll see a headset of some type from Musk. So anyways, okay, let's look at a clip. I'll just get copyright banned on this, but I really want to show you guys. Should we look at the Apple Intelligence clip? Yeah, let's look. Yes,
John, if I can make a quick comment, please.
Yeah.
A huge threat to Apple at the moment is the fact that the European Commission is suing them for monopoly practices. And related to that, Apple has announced that they will probably not release Apple Intelligence in Europe. So think of the implications of that, those two things. It's huge. Did I lose you all?
No, I'm taking notes, John.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. I did. I saw that headline. Super interesting what's going on in Europe. So the EU is The most progressive, how would you, I mean, how would you describe what the EU is doing with data? John, you probably have a good answer to it, but the EU is like the most forward in
Privacy concerns.
privacy
Privacy
concerns.
concerns. Yes.
In terms of like using the government or using government to really control which tech and what data they can take. That would be a good way to put it. Versus like the US is kind of the opposite. One of the ways to think about it is it's an opt-in versus an opt-out system. And in the wait, hold on. Yeah, in the US, you have to opt out of having cookies, which is like little pieces of data that are associated to you as you browse your websites. So things like your email address will be saved and maybe your location. And the use of it is it's what makes your website remember you. So if you're shopping and you have a shopping cart full of stuff on a website, cookies are the thing that remember like what stuff you had, or if you've been to a website before and your email address pops up in the login bar, that's cookies. But they take a lot more nefarious things than that, or people would say nefarious things like data about you and your credit card and where you are and what you're doing and other websites you're looking. And it's all basically mined and then sent to advertising companies. And so in the US, the default standard, in most of the world, the default standard is opt out. Like they will take your data unless you opt out. And in the EU, it's the opposite. It's kind of like a more opt-in situation where they have really strict privacy laws about data. And so they're doing the same thing, so much so to the point that the EU or Apple has said, and I think that's what John just mentioned, that they will not be able to release a lot of their Apple Intelligence features in Europe because of those restrictions. Is that a fair characterization?
Slightly different perspective, but not contradictory, is that Europe does not have a dog in the hunt. Ericsson is not in the hunt. And so the reality is, what are they doing? Is it strictly privacy protection? I hate to say it. I think it's a private piggy bank for them. The antitrust has been a huge source of winnings from Google, from Amazon, from Apple. And it may well be, John, that it's underpinned by this greater concern for individual rights and their small software industry that they're trying to protect, that Apple and their store was sort of keeping out of the marketplace. But I think they don't have a dog in the hunt as far as a product, like they do in auto, like they do in a lot of other areas. So I think that this sort of, it's their private piggy bank is part of the game.
Excellent comment, Chuck. And one way to consider Europe versus US technology, in the US, our law is basically you're innocent until proven guilty. Tech is innocent in our country and many others until proven guilty. In Europe, they follow the Napoleonic French law. You are guilty until proven innocent. And so that's how Europe eyes it. And you're quite right. It is also a piggy bank.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Okay, before I show the video, we got 10 minutes left. Actually, no, let me show the video. And then we'll talk briefly about the video. And then I have another short clip from Jack Dorsey, who is the founder of X, or Twitter, not X, founder of Twitter. He's also been a major voice commenting on this AI stuff. And specifically, he's been talking a lot about how algorithms are influencing. He's even gone as far to say that algorithms are removing free will in humans.
Matt, I know you're tightly scripted, but could you carve out about 3 minutes at the end to talk about Reddit, please?
Sure, I'll try. I don't know what.
Well, a major article in the Wall Street Journal this week about Reddit, and I've been using it, and I have some thoughts.
Oh, okay. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if we have time because I want to show these two videos. Yeah, and I haven't read that article, but anyways, yeah, Jack Dorsey there's this clip that I'll show you after we watch the Apple stuff, and he's saying in the next 5 or 10 years, it's going to really feel like we're living in a simulation. Like you will not be able to tell what's real and what's not because of deep fakes, artificial image generation, video generation, text generation, and yeah. Anyway, so okay, we'll look at this video real quick. We'll get copyrighted on YouTube, and oh wait. Want to make sure the audio is good. Optimize for video. There we go. Okay, Apple Intelligence.
Apple Intelligence in 5 minutes. It's personal intelligence right where you need it.
Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
On your Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Writing tools are an example of the incredible power of Apple Intelligence. Say you're writing an email. You can change the tone to make it sound more friendly, professional, or concise.
So this is the first thing that they showed. This has been available. This goes back to my takeaway that this is really cool for people who are not as AI savvy or not as tech savvy, but this is not new at all. This has been available and able to be done on ChatGPT and Grammarly for over a year and a half now. So I thought it was kind of weird. Like I watched this for the first time and I was like, it just doesn't seem that.
Another way writing tools can help you is with Proofread. With Proofread, you can nail the grammar, word choice, and sentence structure. And if you've rambled on in your email, bring out the key points and add them as a TLDR.
TLDR stands for too long didn't read.
Apple Intelligence is also great when it comes to images. Let's jump in with Genmoji. You want a T-Rex on a surfboard? You've got a T-Rex on a surfboard. Simply type a description of the emoji you want. How about a smiley face with cucumber eyes? Or something random like a squirrel DJ?
I'm sorry, but who is this for? Like, I don't know what this is. Like, I get it.
My wife.
Cool. But that was the first two things they showed. So if you're me, again, if you've never seen like image generation with AI, it's cool that you can do this. I'm not saying, but that's not like new at all. It's just like literally ChatGPT into Apple. I don't know what you're going to do with the Genmoji that's really that important.
And because Apple Intelligence knows who's in your photo library, you can turn your friend V into an astronaut. Next up, Image Playground. Create awesome images in seconds, like an image of a cat as a chef. Just type rooftop and any other descriptive words, and it generates the image in the middle playground area. Then choose a style, like animation, sketch, or illustration. And it's done. Apple Intelligence also understands who people are in your photo library, so you can create a personalized image of them for their birthday. Or your mom is a superhero.
So we're halfway through the video and it's already like, are any of these things super newsworthy? I don't know. Maybe, am I just being, I don't mean to be, but it just seems.
It does have no boundaries. It's all there in one package, which has for one who's not tech savvy, is a big advantage.
Correct. Yeah. So anyways, they do this. They just talk about some other things. This is what I was talking about with the iPad. You can like draw something and then circle it and it will create an image out of it, like an AI image. And then it talks about how Siri can understand you better. That's kind of it. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't cool. Again, cool. Maybe cool because more people will see the capabilities of AI, but I don't know. I wanted to show one thing that I thought was really cool, and that is their Vision OS software. So Vision OS, this is their WWDC developer conference. And the first thing they announced was an update to the Vision OS, which is the headset they've made. And they did a really cool thing with photos that I thought was cool.
Fidelity. Spatial photos are even more powerful, bringing life and realism to your favorite moments with family and friends. It's incredibly moving to step back into a treasured memory. And the rich visual depth of spatial photos makes this possible. Now, visionOS 2 lets you do something truly amazing with the photos already in your library. With just the tap of a button, advanced machine learning derives both a left and right eye view from your beautiful 2D image, creating a spatial photo with natural depth that looks stunning on Vision Pro. It's so—
Now that's cool. A new way to interact and view our photos and videos with these headsets. And again, it's really hard to see what this is if you've never worn a VR headset, but that's pretty awesome. Because this screen, if you look at this room, it could be like as big, if you look at your room in front of you, it can be like a 20 by 20, 20 by 10 screen, which I think is really awesome. Okay, we're running out of time. So let me wrap it up. I really wanted to show this video of Jack Dorsey.
Do it.
Last one. Okay, it's less than a minute. Okay, let me pull that up. And okay, there we go. I haven't done this for 2 weeks. I had so much stuff. Okay, here we go. This is the last thing we'll say. He's commenting on how like pretty soon AI is just going to be everything. So this is Jack, sorry. Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter.
Don't trust, verify. So even this talk, everything I've said, don't trust me. You have to experience it yourself. And you have to learn yourself. And this is going to be so critical as we enter this time in the next 5 years to 10 years, because the way that images are created, deep fakes, videos, you will literally not know what is real and what is fake. It'll be almost impossible to tell. It will feel like you're in a simulation because everything will look manufactured, everything will look produced. And it's very important that you shift your mindset, or you attempt to shift your mindset, to verifying the things that you feel you need through your experience, through your intuition. Because all these devices in your bags and your pockets, they're offloading from that image of the neuron I sent you. And because all these things are on your phone now, you're not building those connections in your brain anymore.
So you can meditate on that. How are we going to exist in a world where we don't know what is real and what is not? I would argue that we're already there. I read all these articles now, and it's like you can tell they're kind of so many of the articles are ChatGPT generated. So anyways, he says, trust your intuition. We're going to really have to develop a new sense almost of what we need, what we want to experience. So meditate on that. Thank you guys for attending. Hope you have a nice week, and I'll be back next Tuesday for sure, because there's a lot more stuff that I wanted to show. But thank you for coming. Have a good one.
Thanks, Matt.